Um, David was a lovely man and a dear friend of mine. In fact, his office was just around the corner to my office in 1 Parliament Street. And today is an enormous tragedy for his family, his loved ones, his friends, and actually for the whole of Parliament and the whole of the nation. Because David had been a parliamentarian for some 40 odd years, nearly 40 years, and he had contributed to the governance of this country in those 4 decades and was loved by his constituents. He was a determined constituency MP. If you look at his contributions in the House of Commons, he was always putting his constituency first. But above all, he was a wonderful and lovely man and always had advice to give to people who were new in the House. And I remember when I was a new MP, he was one of the first to say, if ever you need any help or advice, don't hesitate to ask. I've been here for a while. And you could see him again now in the tea room, in the dining room, or wherever. He would be talking with the new members, making sure that they were comfortable and everything else. But really, it has come as an enormous shock. And as I say, he was a personal friend. And I will miss his forever smile. And whenever there were votes, we'd often bump into each other in the lift as we went down towards the Commons to vote, and then we'd walk back. And it was only recently, relatively recently, that he launched one of his books. And because of the pandemic, he was unable to have a proper book launch. So what David did is that around the regions of the country, he got some MPs to do a question and answer session, which went out by Zoom. And I was privileged to ask him some questions recently when he did his book launch. In fact, he was thinking of doing another book. And there was just so much to do. I mean, I remember the various conversations I've had with him. And it was always about, what to do next to improve the lives of his constituents, but also the lives of everyone in the UK. A great tragedy, and we'll all miss him enormously.
Yeah, you described there an indefatigable man, deeply committed to not just his constituents, but his friends, also a family man, a husband and a father to 5 children.
Yes, and a devout Christian as well, which he didn't make a big deal of, but he was very religious, and that faith of his kept him going. Yes, very much a family man. In fact, when I was first made a government whip in 2010, David was one of the people who was part of the group for whom I was the whip, and I got to know him very well during those early days, and that's a friendship that we've maintained. But a huge, huge loss for his family, and the tragedy is that he will have left this morning with his usual smile, with his usual good humor, and as events have unfolded, he won't be returning home, and that is a real tragedy for his family. And as I said earlier on, our hearts and thoughts and prayers go out to his family, to his loved ones, to his friends.
The other MP, of course, who didn't return home after attending a constituency surgery was the Labour MP Jo Cox back in 2016. Does there need to be a review of MP security? I was talking to Lord Eric Pickles a short while ago, who said, no, this is just part of an MP's job. What do you think?
Sam, I think it's difficult to say how much more security there can be, because whilst this was an incident at the surgery, and likewise with Jo Cox, remember MPs attend various functions, and leaflets are sent out to people saying there's going to be such and such an event and such MP will be attending. I, a few days ago, attended the reopening of one of my village halls after some refurbishment works, and I'd agreed to attend weeks beforehand, and they made the message out to all the other villagers that I would be attending. So it is difficult that when you go to an event like that, to what extent do you say people need to be policed or checked and whatever? I don't think it's possible. I think there is certainly an element that, we as MPs need to always constantly review our security, both for ourselves and indeed for our staff. And remember, today there will have been David's staff there as well, and they also will be shocked at what's happened today, and we mustn't forget them. But I think there's an element of basically trying to get the message out that violence never wins. We should learn to disagree respectfully. Yes, by all means, have that disagreement, but it should never resort to this sort of level. And the other thing to remember, Sam, is that, for example, in my constituency, it is some 300 square miles. It's difficult to have one place where I have my surgeries, because I take the view that I should be going to people, and so I have a revolving surgery.